Amen. I want to start by reading one of my favorite quotes. Perhaps someone will help me print it off and put it on, uh, maybe in my office. It's one of my favorite quotes in the world, and I hope you can all listen to it. It's by Theodore Roosevelt. He said this: "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcomings, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, and who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails whilst daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." It's one of my favorite quotes, because I don't want to be with those timid souls who don't know victory or defeat because they just never tried. Neither do I want to sit with the critics who just talk about the people who get things done. I want to be the person who's involved in getting things done. Amen? Now I'm going to ask you all to do something. Do you all remember what mountain you belong to? Go ahead. Get in your mountains. Organize yourselves. I mean. It's really cold. Can we switch off the fans? I'm freezing up here. Please, someone switch off the fan for me. Business has already gone to sit over here. Business is already sitting here. No, don't sit in circles. Face me. Don't sit in. Okay, do we have all seven? Do we have all seven? Hello? Do we have all seven? Who's missing? So we have no, where's media? Everybody, just get yourselves organized. Every team, just get yourselves organized. Really quick. Okay. It looks like we only have 3 mountains. Family, who's this? Who's this? Who's here? Hello? Media? Government? Business? What's missing? Education? Can education sit somewhere separately so I can see you? Is there only one person in education? Who's in education? One person. Wow. Okay. Okay. You all have an assignment to do today. Your assignment is, I'm going to give you an example with the mountain of education. But your assignment today is to discuss, first of all, what is the purpose of your mountain? What is its purpose? And you're going to create some kind of document that you're going to share with us. What is the purpose of your mountain? For example, the purpose of education, the education mountain exists to form minds, shape values, and cultivate wisdom. It is the mountain that disciples people in how to think, not what to think about, but how to think. Education is not just about facts, it's about formation. Every system of education is actually an altar of discipleship. It either makes you more like Christ or more like the world. To train minds, the purpose is to train minds to love truth, to fear God, and to equip every generation to govern creation with wisdom. Proverbs 9 verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Education is from the Latin word educere, which means to draw out or bring forth. It's actually not to teach someone. It's to bring someone out of themselves. Or as Michelangelo said, he said, when I see a piece of stone, I want to deliver the statue from the stone that holds it captive. So it's to bring you out of yourself. Education literally means to bring your quality out. It doesn't mean to add something to you that wasn't there. It means to see your unique design and bring you out. It means to bring forth. True education draws God's image out of you. Hebrew word is lamad, to learn, to teach, to train. Implies repetition, discipline, and relationship. It's also the word chokmah, which means skill for living, not just for knowledge. It's the Hebrew word da'at, which means knowledge based on intimacy, experience. Or paidia, which you've already been taught, paidion, discipline, moral or mental training, raising of children to maturity. The word teacher is the word didaska or didaskalia or didaskalos, which means a doctor in learning. The Greek word for wisdom is Sophia, which means applied truth. So it's not just knowing the truth. Sophia means applied truth. Amen. This is what you need to go through. You need to tell me the purpose of your mountain. Yes. Then go through biblical foundations is what I also want you to do. For example, Education Mountain, Deuteronomy 6 verse 6 to 9, parents command and teach God's word daily. Teach your children. Proverbs 22 verse 6, train your child. So the real teachers were parents. So you see the Education Mountain, the Family Mountain have a crossover because God expected the parents to be teachers. And how do we restore that? So education in Israel, for example, I want you to go through different models of biblical teachers that you see if it's education. And then I want you to look at the historical development of teaching. For example, we have the biblical era, faith, family-based learning, knowledge rooted in worship. Then we have the Greek philosophers, Socrates, Plato, Neoplatonism, Gnosticism, etc. Gnosticism, by the way, influenced a lot of our biblical teaching. It's the reason why we hate prosperity preachers. It's because of Gnosticism. Because Paul would have been brought up in a Greek society. In the Gnostic society, they hated material things. That's why they called God Logos, which means God is not touchable. He's far away from creation, which is why you have a group of worshipers called Stoics, like the Catholics. They don't have emotion when they worship. They would have a fit if they were in this room because they're meant to be stoic to show that God doesn't move and he's unmoved. That's why Augustine had a problem in his reformed life with God because he saw a God in the Bible who changed his mind or regretted. Because God is meant to be all these isms, immutable, unchangeable, all these things, and that they studied about God that wasn't true. And so a lot of our beliefs about God, like omniscient, omnipresent, doesn't come from the Bible. These come from Gregorian philosophers who instructed certain men, because God doesn't reveal himself as omnipresent or omniscient. He reveals himself as Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi. So our God is far more personable than the Stoics made him. So in the Greek society that Paul would have grown up in, material things were terrible, which is why you'll hear the love of money is the root of all evil, or anything, because they greatly influenced thinking of the day. And so we have to look at how education has framed worldviews. Because if the foundation is faulty, what will the righteous do, essentially? It frames your worldview. So Greek philosophy, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, you have to look at the Middle Ages, the Reformation era as well, Industrial Revolution, modern age, and what they're teaching in terms of schools. You look at school, for example, I'm giving the Education Mountain their answers. So you look at the Prussian model. The Prussian model is where we got our educational model from. It came after the Napoleon War. Essentially, the Prussian model was to raise soldiers and not educated people. So that's why you have school uniform. So you look uniform, and that's why you learn from a national curriculum, because the job was not to raise great people. In fact, there was a terrible saying by Fitch, and this is the man, some of the pioneers of your education. Listen to what he said. We must fashion a generation that does not wish otherwise than what we wish. We do not need great philosophers. We need obedient citizens. That's why some of you are not able to do business or think outside the box, because the education model taught you uniformity. They were basically training you for the job, not for your life. Okay? This became the foundation of the Prussian model of education, which spread across Europe, then to America and the rest of the world. The system keys feature standardized testing and grading, age-based classrooms, factory line education, bell schedules, just like factories, memorization over imagination, obedience over originality, teacher as authority, student as passive receivers, no space for faith or conscience or thinking. Create citizens who fit the machine of the economy. The United States later adopted it in the 1800s, Horace Mann shaping most Western education systems today. Creativity diminished, curiosity was punished. I remember being curious in my RE exams and writing various things, and they told me, wrong, that's not what the curriculum wants. But I was thinking outside of the curriculum. They said, sorry, that's not the curriculum, get back to the curriculum. It's the Prussian model of education. What is created is circular humanism. So we have young people today who are by and large atheists. Yes. Circular humanism, man is the center, not God. Darwinism, life is by chance and not by creator. So what would it do to you if you heard your life was just an accident? Yes? There's no creator. Does that remove the sacredness of your life? Imagine if you heard from a young age you were created for a purpose. But instead, your life is a random accident by a cosmic explosion, of which most people can't even explain to you, nor do they understand. They just say, that's what my teachers told me. But if we sat you down to explain it, you won't be able to explain it. Relativism, there's no absolute truth. Now, if you're brought up in a world where they teach relativism over the commandments, don't murder, don't steal, don't commit adultery, etc., moral relativism, which was made popular by Oprah Winfrey. Does anyone know what Oprah Winfrey coined? The famous term that you all use came from Oprah Winfrey. What was it? You said it. My truth. It's moral relativism. So my truth is, it doesn't matter what the facts are, it just matters what your truth is. Now, if it matters what your truth is, why can't a boy be a girl and a girl be a boy? Because we live in a more relativistic world. That's what the Bible means, that if the foundations are destroyed, what will the righteous do? If the very foundations of your thinking and your worldview is destroyed, even if we preach to you, it doesn't matter, because it's going into your education and your worldview. Do you see the problems? Yeah? That's more relativism. Marxism, does anyone know what that is? Huh? Huh? Adjacent to socialism, in a way, yes. They say socialism is the Trojan horse of Marxism or communism. What is it? Huh? Can I ask you all, as a lot of you, again, sorry if you're other cultures, but a lot of you are black. By virtue of being black, what party are you meant to vote for? How is it that you all know that? Now, let me ask you, why? Huh? If you're on Shadeborough, you're meant to vote Labour. You're just meant to. You have to. In fact, if you go on Shadeborough and say, I like Conservative, even if you're black like Kemi Badenoch, just because you're in the wrong party, you're now the coon. You're the Uncle Tom. Yeah? Even though I don't agree with a lot of what she says, but I think she's just a product of a machine. She's not original. They just basically dressed up conservatism in blackface. That's what I think, personally. They're just selling something. But you're meant to vote Labour. Why? If you're American and you're black, what are you meant to vote? Yeah, why? You want to know? Now, you vote Democrat, but who are the Democrats? Huh? So, the KKK, they started it. They were the party that started the Ku Klux Klan. But we have some Stockholm syndrome. Because one year they did a great switch where they basically just put everything on the Republicans and they rebranded themselves. And because you were born in a different era, you don't know history, so they rely on ignorance. Which is why they want the vote to be younger. Why do they want the vote to be younger? So they can benefit from emotional votes. No knowledge. This is problems for the government mountain that I'm throwing at you. Yeah? Now, why am I saying this? Let me ask you, why are you meant to vote Labour? How many voted Labour? How many of you happy with Keir Starmer? You voted Labour. Be honest, stop lying. Yeah. How many? You voted Labour. Put your hand, be proud. Be proud in Light London. Who voted Labour? You? Who else? Labour. I know you're here, don't lie. Stop being ashamed now because Keir Starmer's bringing Mark of the Beast, you're ashamed. Put your hand up proud. You voted Labour. No, you did. See, you're ashamed. I see you. Thank you. I knew someone. Okay, so you voted Labour. How many voted Conservative? How many didn't vote at all? Majority, okay. Now, fine. Now, why should you vote Labour? Answer me. Huh? Because you're black. But why? Why? Your parents said, but why? Huh? Why do they care? What's the care? They gave you things. Socialism. Free stuff. The number one line you should fear is, we are the government and we're here to help you. Because nothing is free. Nothing is free. They gave you free stuff at the cost of removing the fathers from the home. Supporting the mums. Incentivizing them to have more children without fathers, literally rewarding you with money to not have dads and have more children, creating the prison crisis, creating the gang crisis. Now the black people are waking up. They're going to dilute your vote by importing people from other countries. Give them hotels, make them part of the country, and then they'll vote. Meanwhile, you be like, he's a racist if he puts an English flag up, because you just aren't into the nuance of the argument. If you're not into it, you'll just go racist, not racist, black, white. It's not a black-white thing. It's much more nuanced, and that's the argument for the government mountain. To actually understand everything first. I don't believe you should be able to vote till you sat an exam. I really believe it. I think you should have a political literacy exam first, because politicians literally rely on your ignorance. They want you to just be emotional. And social media has become a great space for just emotionalism without facts. Yeah? So I want the government people to bring facts. So Marxism is basically communism. Socialism is how you bring communism. Has anyone noticed who has left this country? Millionaires have all gone. By the way, we have the biggest millionaire exile in the world. UK is number one now. Now some of you are like, that's nice, the greedy millionaires are gone. Right? That's your Labour mentality. The greedy millionaires are gone. It's terrible for you, because it means the middle class is gone. You're going to see in this country what we see in Africa. No middle class, just rich and poor, nothing else. So yay, the greedy millionaires are gone, the people providing the jobs. The reason why you call them greedy millionaires is because the real people who were the problem was the government. But the government didn't want to take blame, so they marketed to you that the real issue is not us, it's the greedy millionaires. And then they market to you, you poor black people, you'll never be rich because you're disadvantaged. You're the sons of slaves. You're kunta kinte. You're always going to be poor. No, I'm just giving you the messaging without music. I'm giving it to you raw. That's all they're saying. You're poor, you're just stupid, you're too dumb. You just were disadvantaged all your life. And because they had the white people had a head start, you were far behind. etc, etc. You're going to be poor, so rely on us. Keep voting for us. We will take care of you. Is anyone feeling taken care of? Okay. So education. This is why education is so important. Before government, before business, before anything, your worldview matters. And your education frames your worldview, which is why universities have become indoctrination camps. That's all they are. I mean, that's why Charlie Kirk was shot. He went to a place where people have certain worldviews, and he said, change my mind. I don't believe men should be in women's toilets. Change my mind. I don't believe men should be allowed in women's sports. Let's discuss. That's what education is for. The Greek philosophers created educational spaces as places for deep debates and arguments, not to shut down disagreement. Basically, we're meant to disagree. Iron sharpens iron. Wood doesn't sharpen iron. You can't use a piece of wood to sharpen iron. But we're teaching people today to be like wood. Just fall apart anytime someone has a different thought from you. I think I posted something on my page recently about the head of BlackRock wants to go into Nigeria and hire a private army to basically defend all the Christians from the attack. Somebody messaged me so angry. Said, you don't know. This head of BlackRock said that Nigeria should never have been independent. I said, I agree. See, don't be angry. It's a different perspective from you. I agree, I think Nigeria got its independence too early. I don't think independence is necessarily a good thing unless you prepare for independence. I think the independence that was handed to Nigeria was an independence where we would destroy ourselves. Case in point, we are doing it. I think if you give people who were slaves independence without changing the way they think, they will just do to each other what the masters did to them. And if you want to argue with me, look at the facts. It's literally happening in real time. I'm not saying that slavery was good. I'm not saying colonialism was wonderful or anything like that. But I am saying that we should have maybe taken our time. The nations that were slower to move into independence in Africa are actually doing much better than the nations who just said, we want our independence. For what? To go where? To do what? And so we were corrupted. We saw the same thing in the Middle East, but they got over it. Why am I saying all this? Where's Prof. Mutsa? Can you give my slides? Oh, this is good. I've been asked, please don't let the cameras be on me for this one. Switch off the cameras. Maybe I'll just say, no, I won't say it. Switch off the cameras for this one. Yeah. I'm going to send you something, Prof, on WhatsApp, yeah? But I don't want this to go online. So if you spread it, it's your business. It's not recorded, so I never said it. I want to show you how serious this is. Because the ecclesia is called, okay, I'm sending it to you now. Come on. Okay, WhatsApp, there you are. Forward 3 documents. Mutsa. Forward. Done? You should have it. Just give it to the media team maybe to put on for me. Okay? It says it's sent. Now, that you can disagree with that thought, but we should disagree. We should argue till we come to a conclusion. And you should bring your facts, and I'll bring my facts. And then when we brought our facts, then we come to a conclusion. But what we're taught today is just emotion. I just don't feel it. My truth and my experience, and you can't, my brother once said, he said, if you don't have a reference, you don't deserve a preference. Like you've got to know history to talk. This is why I'm having you, we're not doing, yeah, and God said, no, now I'm having you think. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your, so there's an intellectual way to love God. You might think this is boring. We're not, boom, boom, boom. I think we need to stop doing that and actually have intelligent conversations. Yes? Amen. So communism is, what is communism? Anybody? Huh? State control. What does it look like? By the way, that's what Labour is leaning towards. Keir Starmer is a communist. He is a communist. He's the whole millionaire crisis is purposed. He is a communist. You have voted for a commie. Yes? Look at his history as a lawyer. He has historically defended communists even when they've done terrible things. It aligns itself also with Islam in a very unique way. You also have to study, those in government have to study the Muslim Brotherhood very, very well. It's all this free Palestine, all this stuff has been going on that some of you have been involved in. Free Palestine. Oh, God, no, Basha. All this, yeah, you've been manipulated. Today we're going to open eyes. You'll be very upset. Even the BLMers, I lost almost half our church when I came against Black Life, and I refused to black my page. I refused. Till today, I hate the movement. Because it said Black Lives Matter, but you didn't look under the bonnet. They literally said out loud, we worship Ogun. They literally went to the site of where people were killed to raise the blood as an altar to Ogun. They literally don't believe in the nuclear family. It was run by lesbians who want to disintegrate the nuclear family because they are Marxist. Yet when they got the money, they spent it on mansions. And all of you, like sheeple. No, I mate, you are here. Put your hand up if you blacked out your page. Hey, no, be honest. Don't lie in this room now. Don't lie. Put your hand up if you blacked out your page. Put your hand up if you went against your friends and said, excuse me, your page needs to be black today. I know these people, you're pretending. I don't believe you. So we need to look at, I'm just giving you the education one as an example. Do you have the slides ready? Please let me know, Prof, when they have it ready. Just go through whichever one first. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? So communism, by the way, is the idea that we own nothing. The state owns everything. So imagine now a world in which we all do work, but we all get paid equally. All of us. It doesn't matter if you're a footballer, fashion. The state will take all the money and will adjudicate to each person the same amount. How motivated are you? In fact, just put your feet up and do nothing. This is why communist societies have fallen apart with 100% success rate and failure. There's been not one in history that has succeeded. Not one. Is anyone here from Venezuela? How is Venezuela doing? Dubai to nothing. Civil war, all manner of things. The banks shut down. Nobody can even access their money anymore. Always happens without fail. Communism was created by Karl Marx. You might want to, those of you in the government, who's government? Who was Karl Marx? Huh? Yeah, but who was he? Give me some facts about him. He was a Satanist. He was actually the son of a preacher, got offended with God, became a Satanist, did some strange rituals, so all his children died in mysterious ways. The husbands who married the woman died in mysterious ways. He literally conjured this ideology from hell. Communism. Communism has always fallen apart. Even in the Bible, they tried it. Remember in the book of Acts? No one lacked anything. Everybody had equally. And what happened? Later on, they began to fight. These ones get more than us. It doesn't make sense. Why is this? The church became like a social care system where you even took care of widows. Now Paul started saying, go and find out if those widows are real widows. And the ones who are young, let them marry. Stop sponging off the church system. And the men who are not working, if they don't provide for the needs of their household, they're now worse than unbelievers. So you even see the economic system of the church. It went from this sympathetic communist thing. You see, what I found about liberal left thinkers is they're very compassionate. What I found about right-wing thinkers is they're very logical. And so the way you manipulate leftists is you get them on compassion. We're not going to call it killing babies. We're going to call it women's rights. Now we've manipulated your compassion. How dare you take away a woman's right to her body? So now, do you know in UK, whilst we were all arguing, they've now passed a law that you can now kill a baby up until it is born. So even at 9 months, you can say, I don't want again, and they kill it. Up until the point it's outside of your womb. You know what Hillary Clinton was pushing for? She was pushing for abortion until you take the baby home. That's how wicked this world has become. But where did it come from? Education. What did we teach in education? Moral relativism. No absolute morality, just whatever we believe is good and bad. It's what the majority believe is good and bad. So we've been cooked. They say if you want to kill a frog, don't put it in hot water. They say put it in cold water and then slowly turn up the heat. The frog will never know it's dying. This is the same thing that's happened to morality. You were never dumped in immorality. You were slow cooked into this state of normalized immorality. Do you understand? So we got communism, consumerism, corruption and bribery, Islamic finance, legalism, humanism, materialism. So that's it. So look through the education mountain. I want you to, okay, this is the assignment, but have you got the slides ready? Nothing? I can't hear you. I can just see you holding a phone. Okay. So I want you to essentially, oh, you can film me again until they got, sorry, you can actually have put me on until they got this ready. I want you to go through, number one, define the mountain. What is it? What is business? What is us in entertainment? Define it. Go even into God's original purpose for the mountain. Yes? Number two, what is its purpose? Number three, when did the enemy corrupt my mountain and how did he do it and who did he use? Who were the culprits that corrupted my mountain? Number four, who are the current giants on the mountain? Who's standing there? Who are the gatekeepers? Who are the giants? Yeah. Number five, what is God's vision to pull them down? What is God's vision for takeover of that sphere? You can all see this picture on the board. This was a vision God showed me. Nehemiah rebuilt the walls of Israel, but he didn't just rebuild the walls. It says he rebuilt the gates. Gates, again, were places that laws were made. I saw this in a vision, 7 gates. I saw family, arts and I now believe there are 10. But I saw family, arts and entertainment, business and economics, media, education, government, religion. And there was a discussion happening at each of the gates. At the gate of business, there was discussion. What do we do now? Knowing this information, what do we now need to do? I love, have you heard of Yonggi Cho? Biggest church in the world. But wherever he would travel with multi-billionaire business people who he raised in his own church. So whatever crusade needs, those guys took care of it. Because he taught them in the house. There was a businessman's fellowship. So you need to form some kind of businessman's fellowship. What are the solutions God wants me to provide from my mountain? Yes? We look at government. Who's government? Okay, what are the solutions God wants us to provide from our mountain? Government is not the same as politics. Politics is where we pay a bunch of people, bureaucrats, to argue about things that'll never change. Government is getting things done, providing solutions. We're not just here for politics. We're here to get things done. What does that look like, for example, in Woolwich right now? You can't say light London is here and night crime goes up. We failed. What does that look like for media? And then what does that look like for the mountains to begin to work together? The different spheres to work together. Okay? I'll show you the slides when they have it ready, but they got it ready? Yes? Okay. So what's this one first? What's this one first? Okay, cameras, please. No body film. I was asked I would appoint the most competent and charactered amongst you to be the chair people, so the conversations don't go off and everything is organized and directed well. Yes? I would appoint the most competent, most character people who have the fruit, they're doing this in their real life amongst you, just to be sort of the chairman and chief of the meetings and then discuss. You have 30 minutes. Go. Are you on religion? You're in business. Hello, hello. Okay. No one is on the mountain of religion for now. The mountain of religion is the fivefold. That's the apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, evangelists. That's another day. So just see it like 6 mountains instead of religion. So no religion mountain today. We're just doing the other 6. Okay? Which is arts, entertainment, education. Okay, go ahead. Shoot. Test, test, test. Hello. All right, time is rolling up. It's up. Um, huh? 5 minutes. I have to fly soon, so hold. Okay, you have 5 minutes. We'll start rounding up. Every team appoint a spokesperson now who will uh, who will share what you have so far. I'm not expecting you to have everything because this is a discussion you should actually be having for at least a month. We're just laying the foundation. Hello, hello, shh, hello. So everybody appoint a spokesperson right now. I'm not expecting you to have it all together. Just what you got so far from your time of discussion. If everyone can turn their chairs to face this way. Appoint a spokesperson. Can the spokespeople come up? Can the spokespeople come up? Can we have a microphone for the spokespeople? And can the spokespeople come up? Do we have a mic? Thank you. Very quickly, just each spokesperson will take us through what they've spoken about, what they've discovered. Go for it.
So the first question was define your mountain. Government mountain. You don't matter, don't worry. My name is Samuel, guys. So we define the mountain as creating systems that impact the way the world functions by shaping the mindsets of the population and making sure we have order and boundaries. So also we said what's the purpose of the government? So resolving the needs of the people. That's one of the things that we want to do as a government as well. And another question Apostle asked was when did the enemy corrupt the mountain? How? So we said when Satan fell from heaven to earth, through the Tower of Babel was one of them. The birth of political ideologies was another avenue as well. And we also said how changing the way mankind thought about themselves as well. So the way we think about ourselves is one way the enemy changed it as well. And also another question was what are the current giants of the business mountain? So Xi Jinping, which is the Chinese supreme leader of China, one of the most powerful nations of earth. Putin, leader of China, also the prime minister of India due to economic power as well. Donald Trump and also Macron being the president of France does because there's so many like French African colonies as well. Also, what is God's visions to pull them down? So God is putting Christians in government and leadership. So currently, yesterday I went to UK Black Business and I met the mayor of Camden. He's a Christian, and also he was one of the first people to have praise and worship in his inauguration, which was powerful as well. So also the mayor of Barking is a Christian as well, back in Barking, so that's good. And also another way God is doing is empowerment of citizens to be in one accord, in agreement, and also God is also working through people like also David, the Hebrew boys, and Daniel. So also how is community groups as well. So lobbying, think tanks is another thing we thought about. And also the last question was, what does it look like for the mountains to work together? So we said having understanding of how the government works, political ideologies, teaching the truth as well. Also, we need to be educated and then have the idea. So basically, we are going to market it to the other mountains, and they just, use their mountains to basically market it to the world. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Any questions from the floor? What initiatives are you planning on starting to begin so this doesn't just remain discussion and theory, but what initiatives are you planning on starting?
We didn't discuss that, but I would suggest by us looking at creating government policies as well, so we can actually have an idea session where we can think of how can we influence the current political party in Woolwich as well. So what's the mayor doing? Like, we need to look at our surroundings and think, okay, what's the problems? There's knife crime, there's underage violence, all that stuff, and poverty. Woolwich is very dirty as well, so we can look at environmental issues. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next.
Oh, Carrie. Yeah. Yeah. So how we going to educate people who like London and government? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. I would say we're gonna have like sessions where we actually do research, because I think education is very important. There's so many things that we actually don't know, and like once we figure out what the issues, what the problems, then even us as we're researching, we get to understand. Okay, that's how you feel connected. Okay, I work in health, I work in tech, I work here. So then we can all collectively come together, and then you actually feel connected through education. Because if you don't train your mind, how are you gonna know what to do? Oh, you got a question. Funny enough, I actually came up with something like weeks ago. I said to Apostle, where I do believe, but it's about the mindset. I think as Christians, we need to think, okay, what is God's governmental system? And I believe in something called everything is spiritual, but don't over spiritualize everything. And I think Christians over spiritualize even the mountain of government, where we think that, oh, okay, that's why a lot of people feel they have to be Labour. But have you read Labour policies and see what they're pushing and what they're thinking to do? So I think when you look at the policies of the party, you understand that, okay, this aligns more with what God is saying. Like, if you look at Donald Trump, he's not your moral standard, but he pushes God's ideology what he wants to do in America. That's my answer.
Should Christians be involved in government?
100%. Because if, like what I said, meeting people that are Christians in government, because God has to put people in there to be able to influence, his agendas and his policies. So we have to be in government.
But the rapture's coming, so what's the point? Just let the world burn. Just let the world burn. The rapture's coming, let's go.
But he said, occupy till I come.
Yeah, but if we're going to occupy till he comes, and then he's just going to end up destroying the whole place anyway with fire and brimstone, what's the point in doing this? You're not preaching the true gospel. The true gospel is just the gospel of salvation. We're just meant to win souls. Why are you doing government? Just go and win souls.
I mean, that's what we've been conditioned to think. Because yes, we're winning souls, but the souls also have to live in a governmental system. So even if, yes, you're winning souls, but there's poverty, there's things that go against God's systems of like, the commandments. So if we are not in government, how are we going to even have a world where the souls we've won can actually exist?
I think it's going to be very good that you all study common objections to your sphere and how to overcome those both biblically and logically. I think it's very important. There are common objections to every sphere here for Christians entering those spheres. Biblical objections that people will bring. You need to be ready with logical and spiritual and biblical answers. Go ahead, next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel, and I'm representing the business mountain. So I'm going to proactively say we didn't get to everything, and I didn't know this was question time, but I'll do my best. So our definition, we define the business mountain as the economic backbone of the ecclesia. Our purpose is to fulfill the dominion mandate to bring about economic transformation via marketplace influence with Christ's authority to reflect kingdom economics by being the economic backbone of the ecclesia. When and how did the enemy corrupt the business mountain? Lucifer first corrupted the mountain through commerce, actually through the introduction of pride and greed in the garden, we concluded. Humanity later followed at Babel, creating the Babylonian system of trade and commerce. And that's actually where we got to be honest.
Any questions? The business people went about their business today. It was only 2 points.
3, definition, purpose, and how and when.
I've got a question for you. How do you guys plan on solving the economic problem as a mountain?
I mean, fundamentally, I'm speaking from my own. Fundamentally, we need more Christians that are financially prosperous. We need to mobilize, and I always like to use this term like a microeconomy. We should be an economy within ourselves. We should have billions and trillions thrown within us. And I can vouch, I've personally invested in, a brother's venture. So yeah, we need more of that, to be honest.
Do you have a plan for lifting first, I think, those in the house from poverty before we focus out there? Is there an actual plan? Or do you focus out there and it benefits in here? What's the plan?
It was a slight discussion between us in terms of, does the education come first before the business mountain? It has to start from education. It has to start from, I think, understanding what is out there. A big problem amongst the black community, people that are in poverty, is they've never seen it, so they don't know they can obtain it. And through understanding the extent of wealth that is in for the taking.
Okay, let me ask you this. You only have 1 month, otherwise your entire ability of business in the UK shuts down completely. Communist society completely takes over, and you have 1 month. The clock starts now. What are you doing?
What's my business?
How are you changing our situation?
Can you ask the question again, please?
You only have 1 month.
Okay.
How are you changing all of our situation in 1 month?
Yeah, mindset.
You only have 1 month.
I'm starting by indoctrinating everyone in this building to the promises of God that has been spoken to us as His children.
We've been doing that for hundreds of years, and they're still not changed.
And then we start by radical execution. We do. It starts with the doing.
Radical execution on what?
Ideas. We made the point that an idea isn't a business. It has to start through the action. And a lot of us are sitting on our hands not doing.
What kind of business will get us where we need to get to the quickest and the fastest? We only have 1 month. Again, the ark door is closing, the financial flood is coming, everyone's going to be blown away. You literally have 1 month. What are we doing?
Helping other businesses succeed. You know, we're never.
Okay, let me put it this way. There's an assassin that's going to come to the church. God forbid. Everybody's going to be shot in the head who doesn't have £1 million net worth. It's an emergency. We only have 1 month to get every individual to £1 million net worth. What are you doing? Do you understand what I'm trying to do? So wealth fund is not going to help. It's going to take you several years.
Property.
See, what am I trying to get you to? I'm trying to get you out of politics, which takes a long time of discussing and planning and no, rubbish, to action. I'm trying to drive that action here. The book of Acts is not called the book of thoughts. It's called the book of Acts. Action. What is the whole top purpose of you sitting down was to get to the point where you diagnose issues and come up with solutions. I don't yet hear solutions. And yet your business people, which business people are all about solutions, and the only thing you've given me so far in the 1 hour you had to talk, or however long you had to talk, is nothing. So Business Mountain, wank, wank, wow. Next. Okay, someone has a question. They're probably not ready, but go ahead.
Chai. Fire. Are you ready? Word, we had a big group. Can you shout, bro? Yeah. Only a fool bites the hand that fed them. TBH.
Right? Yep. Fair enough. I'll personally put a contract in place, but hey. I'd make, like, maybe the church is a compulsory equity holder on whatever businesses are launched and started from here, from the training. You give the church maybe a 10%, it's called a tithe. Equity holding in the company, but anyway, yeah.
Brilliant.
Who's next?
Hi.
Okay, Rev Justice, please take over. Rev J? Rev J, where is he? You have the power.
God bless you all. See you. Safe journey.
Celebrate Apostle. Say fly. Beat them up. The same way you beat us. All right. Education Mountain. Are we done? Yes.
Again, I think that's something we probably need to think about because we didn't discuss it, but that's a really good question.
Any more? Okay. Right. Let's celebrate the Education Mountain. Well done. Okay. Next mountain.
Lovely. My name's Jamila, and I'm representing the Arts and Entertainment Group. I'll try to summarize this as well as I can. The first one, in terms of the definition of the mountain, I think to summarize, I'd say that it exists to influence culture through creativity and storytelling as a reflection of God's nature as a creator. We mentioned that in Genesis, God obviously created the world, and that was an expression of his creativity through the design of the world. But the the main ways that we use arts and entertainment is obviously arts, film, music, fashion, and sport. And it's basically to shine light on the purpose of God. In terms of the biblical purpose of arts and entertainment, we'd say that communication of truth and emotion in a way that shapes hearts and minds towards God's kingdom, essentially being transformed by the renewal of the mind. And arts and media can renew minds, and it can also corrupt them. The purpose of art is to direct our thought towards good and beautiful, or it should be. But then that kind of leads into the corruption of the mountain, in the sense that inspiration is shifted from God to either the enemy or even self, and art can become a tool of deception. I think a lot of artists began glorifying themselves rather than God, and messages began to pervert the truth, which in turn normalized sin and glorified darkness, basically. And government, corporations, are now being used to control the narrative. And yeah, the giants on the mountain, I'd say, influence is held by those who control what stories and messages reach the public. We said that it kind of sounds like a conspiracy theory, but in reality, it's the agents and people that can fund public figures such as Tyler Perry, LeBron James, and other artists and major film people. They're the ones that actually end up getting the stage in the first place. You can't just, most artists aren't, they're chosen to be there, basically. So God's vision, it kind of links back into the purpose, so the original point. So we need to return to original design and art inspired by the Holy Spirit, raise up kingdom creatives, and steward their gifts, basically to mature the kingdom again and bring that back. So in terms of solutions, I think we need to, obviously a lot of people are already creating media that is easily digestible in a way that doesn't necessarily directly link straight to biblical points and messages. It's kind of easy to and accepted by people that aren't necessarily in the faith, but also I think potentially creating different platforms that can, just outside of what the algorithm pushes, platforms that create and use algorithms that benefit the kingdom to potentially glorify God and stuff like that. But obviously business is always the key, actually having the money to do that. So making sure that we're funding the arts and entertainment section in a way that, we can invest the money correctly.
Okay. So I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Now, before business will invest in your initiative, we want to know what's the strategy to safeguard our children? What's the plan what's your plan? Because right now, the target is not the adults.
No.
The target is the kids.
Yeah.
What's the plan?
So essentially, what's the plan so that
Safeguard
you'd
them.
invest? And
The plan is business invest.
No, sorry, I was trying to summarize your question.
Okay.
Sorry, was you trying to say what's the plan for investors to save?
No, because you have to, if you're going to come to the business mountain,
Yeah.
you must have a very
plan.
good business plan that
Yeah.
makes sense and is investable. So what is the plan that we're investing in to safeguard the children?
I think to save, children,
To protect them.
to protect them,
the children.
yeah, to
Because
protect
right now,
children
like
in
Apostle
media.
said,
I think creating and using influencers on social media that are teaching kids in a way, but knowing what their heart posture is, and creating or putting influencers who are Christian and using them as key points of media and creativity to feed that to children instead. Because I think a lot of the time it's deception. A lot of people that are actually influencers, their intent and their heart posture isn't right, and that's what we're feeding into. So if you're willing to invest in the arts and entertainment industry, we can ensure that the people that we put out have a heart that's in line with God's purpose.
so we're talking about influencers. Yeah, okay, I'll take your question. You're talking about influencers,
Yeah.
leveraging those, but does that protect the children? What's the plan? What's the mountain's plan to even not giving into government pressure to further an agenda?
I think they want to take the...
Answer this one first. I'm the one who did the mic.
Yeah, true.
Oh,
This is my group, yeah.
no, we didn't get that in business. Y'all are not having that. No
Using
chance.
our initiative.
Answer, no answer. Business did not get that privilege. Nah. Answer. That's your representative. Nah. Listen. How is that fair on the business mountain?
It's not about fairness. It's about getting the right answer. So I think I'm happy to...
No, go back.
No.
Okay. Now, the kingdom business people are generous and kind people, so we allow you to. One person. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. No, we did. We were supporting internally, but the questions, anyway, fine. You have one person to go. She chooses.
So I want to feed into what Apostle said with the prophetic. Right now, how I feel like God is really moving in the creative scene is he's raising up camps and things like that, so we can actually fund schools for children where we are teaching them psalmistry, what music looks like from the Bible, scare them a bit with the Luciferian story and things like that, and really like just hone on them in the musical sense, teaching them what music theory is as well. So, and also training them into the mainstream, because I feel like what we do now is we train artists to go into the gospel, but the gospel, I'm telling you, there are major labels and the Christian labels at the bottom. So it's kind of like training them, taking notes from the secular and really putting them into the schools that we now invest and we build. And yeah, I feel like schools are kind of the answer, so we're going into the education system.
I love that.
Okay. When and how did the enemy corrupt?
When and how. So that was when the enemy came in and started perverting the arts, for example, fashion. When time-wise, timeline.
Yes,
We did say, like, we said that it kind of happened at the beginning in the garden. Yeah, exactly. When
what happened in the garden?
when,
How did
when
that
Adam and
affect
Eve
art?
realized they were naked, and when sin entered the world. That was literally the point we said.
Yeah.
So it was when sin entered the world and when Adam and Eve realized that they were actually naked in the garden. So
Right.
it's been around throughout time. That was a form of fashion, essentially.
What about the 21st century?
In the 21st century, in terms of music and fashion and...
It's your mountain. You can't ask me. You tell me. You should know your mountain.
Yeah, so like sexual music, sexual fashion, just secular... Sorry, I'm consulting my
Time. Okay, well, that's great. I think, but it's interesting though. I've got a question, because I'm a big fan of this mindset of maximizing the little you have to make the most you can. Now, so far, I've heard your whole strategy is hopefully the business mountain makes money so we can fund your projects.
So we can also
my
have
question
platforms,
is, in
yeah.
the meantime, so for example, a business does not just manifest day one, right? So whilst the business mountain is brewing and then we're going to make multi-million, billion pounds, what is your mountain doing to still further the kingdom?
So we're utilizing platforms such as social media. We're trying to get into schools and try and make Christianity and promoting the kingdom purposes attractive again. And utilizing whatever we have, pushing out more content, using algorithms, creating curriculums that, not creating, influencing curriculums, and getting in where we can to influence the youth and change their mindset.
Okay, question? How are you going to bring it in the ecclesia? To be biblically aligned. Okay?
So how do we bring arts and entertainment to the ecclesia and make it biblically aligned? Sorry. So it's already part of the ecclesia. So in terms of making it biblically aligned, we would ensure and debate with all the other groups that, and just make sure it's in line with the word, realistically. Like, I don't understand how, that
Okay.
sounds quite like a simple question, so I'm misinterpreting it.
Okay, that's a big question. I'll take that. But I've got kids.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest gateway access to? Yeah. What's the biggest gateway access? Screens.
Yeah, like kids are on phones all
What's
the
the
time.
biggest corrupted platform that the enemy is using?
Yeah,
to
social
attack?
media, YouTube, media, TikTok, YouTube. I say kids sit there, parents hand their kids' phone, they'll be shopping, and kids will just be on YouTube. Miss Rachel, all of
So,
this.
so far, you've not talked about games. That's where I was going.
Oh, games. Yeah.
Roblox is one thing that
Yeah,
it's
games is a big one.
like
Yeah.
our kids are talking about being on private service and stuff
Yeah,
like that. We're like,
that's true.
watch, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, what is your plan again? That this is a good exercise, right? It's not like we're expecting you to have these answers now, but these are touch points that it's very crucial that we are all sort of exploring and to take dominion in these areas. But anyway, any questions? Questions? Yeah. Good question. So how when you get challenged by the new groups, what is your plan to sort of feed into or bring them into alignment? Because they're going to want diversity and inclusivity. So what's your plan to align to that, but also being aligned to the kingdom? Is that right? Sticking to kingdom values and principles, yet still making inclusive. Is it possible?
I,
Is it possible?
no. So that's the thing. Like at this current point,
So what's the plan right now? Hey, you're going to employ a gay director to do a Christian movie.
The movie's Christian. I think that's fine.
So
Like,
why should the kingdom income go to that person, whereas we have?
yeah, I think the issue isn't.
Right. 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 Okay. It's a good answer,
Yeah,
actually.
the
Good
issue
answer.
isn't. Yeah, the issue
Right.
isn't them being on the set. It's about what we do with the money that we make once the movie goes live, putting it back into kingdom purposes.
Okay, great. Because of time, let's celebrate the arts mountain, arts media. Right. What mountain are you?
Media.
Media. Okay.
Yes. My name is Ayo, by the way, guys. Oh,
Hi. Ayo.
Hi. Um, so, to define the media mountain, it's basically, wow, this, okay. It's basically a mountain for television, radio broadcasting, film and video production, newspapers and magazines, online media, social media platforms, music, podcasting, advertising and public relations, video games and streaming services. So the purpose of the Media Mountain is essentially to share information, to educate, to entertain, to influence, and for cultural expression. An example we have from the Bible is we can use the Ten Commandments and the rabbis in the temples. Their oral way of communicating with the people was a way to transform their minds, to change the way they think, and to influence them essentially. So historically as well, we can go as far back as the cavemen, or Stone Age or whatever it was called, when they would draw on the walls, and Roman and like other ancient like civilizations where they would have basically billboards which would be where they share information essentially as well. So what is the issue in the Media Mountain? So we can't necessarily pinpoint an exact point in history where everything started to get corrupted. We can go back as far as the enemy when he fell from heaven and evil was spread. My brain. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, our solution is basically to ownership. Ownership. Every stream of media is owned by a company, and those companies or the people who own those companies are what their agendas are basically spread through their media companies. So our solution is ownership, and obviously to create our own media, so newspapers. Nowadays, you don't have to be part of the BBC or ITV to share news. There's that guy, I forgot his name, the white guy, I forgot his name, but sorry, on TikTok. Sorry? The Australian guy. And he shares like news on TikTok all the time. and you don't have to go through ITV. Something that some people don't know is that even though news channels are supposed to be completely neutral, they often do lean either subtly or completely to a certain political party, for example. So whether you realize it or not, your ability to have an opinion is being influenced. So ownership is our solution, and creating our own content.
Okay, question. You talked about this Australian guy.
Yeah.
We don't know his name. We don't know his background. We don't know how legitimate the news he's broadcasting is. Can you see the potential risk with user-generated news?
Yes, but it's going to be created anyway. That's the thing. Because there's so many.
That defeats your mountain, because what essentially is your mountain doing to make sure that any news or any form of communication or whatever is coming out through any medium is aligned to the kingdom?
Having presenters who are actually educated enough, who have done thorough research on what they're sharing, so that they're not spreading fake news, for example. Yeah.
But that's you spreading that news. What's the Media Mountain's strategy to combat false news, fake news? Now, I'm only tackling news because that's the example you gave, and there are so many angles we can go. But I'm just trying to stick to your presentation or your submission.
Yeah, I understand your question, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm wrong. I'm welcome to be corrected.
Where's your team?
There and there.
Yeah, these guys got that, so you might as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Join her if you want. Yeah, go on. No, she's joining you. So you got backup.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
you were gonna? Yeah,
okay,
sure.
so the question is what we're doing to combat the fault news. I think because the media, it depends on the platform. So example, if it's the social media and everything, I think tech is also at the forefront of all this media outlets. So I think it's trying to have some fundamental understanding on the tech behind it. We speak a lot about algorithms, but trying to understand what type of content essentially is being pushed out there and why it's being pushed out there, and trying to because I think another reason why a lot of it's trying to understand how this new platforms are being put out there in terms of the algorithms. Why is the feed or why is the different things pushing out this form of information, and trying to understand, because I think Apostle mentioned all about the systems, trying to understand why, and then also then trying to put out our own content within the same strategy, or a better strategy to have the information out there. What else can we do is that we can also amplify. And then through that, we're able to also amplify the actual voices that are being projected, to share the actual truth. Yeah, that's a platform.
Who is the biggest giant in the media space?
The biggest.
So, hold on, let me go. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I can try to what are you gonna do? The top people currently should.
Shade Barra.
So, sorry, could you repeat your question?
Who is the biggest media giant?
So we have Rupert Murdoch is one.
Who?
Rupert Murdoch is one.
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, he owns 7 news companies.
Okay.
And then you also have Bob Iger, which I don't know if you said his name right, CEO of Walt Disney. Brian L. Roberts, CEO of Comcast Corporation.
Okay, let me rephrase my question to make it more relevant to us. Which media outlet is the biggest platform that Christians consume from?
I think it's, because that was what I wanted to answer. I think in a way it will be TikTok in the sense of a media outlet, because TikTok really shook the media industry in the sense of a lot of all this Instagram and cool, they were mainly social media platforms. But when TikTok came during COVID, it kind of shifted everything to media. So people just don't post about oh yeah, so I'm out with my friends here. People, ever since TikTok from COVID time, people started sharing a whole lot of information out there through Reels, and that's what then influenced every other platform from Instagram News, YouTube Reels, even all this CNN. They try to kind of replicate the same format TikTok use. I think TikTok is a major platform on it as well.
Any questions from anybody?
really good one. That's a good one.
Preservation of freedom of speech. Because it filters. I'm not even in your things. It filters Christian voices because right now there is things like there's no love like Christian hate or there's some whatever, and so Christian voices are being filtered out by misinformation. The biggest one, I'm sorry, is the whole like pro-Palestine whatever. There is a lot. The algorithm. The other day, my algorithm on Instagram changed, and I was horrified by what I saw. Like, and it wasn't the pro-Palestine stuff; it was the Israeli voices and stuff. But you will not see it on the algorithm because voices are being filtered, and people are like, "Oh yeah, freedom of speech," but actually there is a filtering of the freedom of speech, and so there needs to be legislation, religious freedom of speech, but there needs to be Christians creating those policies in order to protect Christian freedom of speech.
Because there are some people that go out and they're like, oh, create for me like this and things, because you can really believe AI if you don't really know what's going on. That's the issue, is because you can have like an AI something out there and everybody will believe it, but if you're not as informed on the actual thing. So I think another way is even like, okay, for example, an AI like video is pushed out about something that is false. The only way you would know it's not false is if, one, you actually search it up yourself, or two, like your algorithm or what comes out there is actually like correct news as well. Because you have a lot of false news being put out there and the actual news is never there. So I think, yeah, I don't know if I answered the question.
Is there a plan to leverage AI
Yeah, to leverage AI.
further? Because like I'm hearing all these algorithms you're talking about, you're on your post and then your algorithm changes.
Yeah.
Is there a way or is there a plan where the media mountain sort of creates an algorithm that can sort of target Christians and then combat the opposition? Is there anything like that?
It's something that we didn't discuss, but it's definitely something that we can look into. We didn't discuss it, but it's something that we can definitely look into.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Save me. We're for the family mountain.
Family, can you stand? Oh, you have an injury?
My health. I can't stand for. I was standing for a long time.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're excused.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so we're the family mountain. For the definition, the foundation of this mountain is the family, the social, health, spiritual, economic, and emotional well-being of families at its core. It refers to the sphere of influence in society that shapes values, relationships, and identity through the structure, health, and stability of families. That is the definition of the family mountain. What is the purpose of this mountain? To foster connections and sense of belonging, to provide and create care and services that put the well-being of every member of a family at the center, to create foundations that share the same values and produces lifelong and generational legacies, to reshape the current culture and values surrounding families, to preserve the moral and spiritual foundation of communities. When did it get corrupted? In the spiritual sense, the corruption of the family mountain started with Adam and Eve, and it branched out to things like the breakdown of marriage, so divorce, infidelity, the loss of covenant, and commitment was weakened. The redefinition of family, so cultural shifts have attempted to redefine what family means, moving away from God's biblical design, the absence of mothers and fathers, so fatherlessness, neglect, emotionally absent parents, leaving wounds in children and communities, abuse and dysfunction, so cycles of physical, emotional, sexual abuse have broken trust and safety within homes, rejection of God's order, so confusion around gender roles, identity, and the leadership in family have disrupted the divine structure of family. Generational curses and trauma, attack on children, especially so children face spiritual, emotional, and moral corruption through media, neglect, and the breakdown of parental guidance. And then there's the prioritizing of self over family. So individualism and materialism have replaced selfless love and sacrifice within households. In the sociological context, in the late 20th century, when cultural, political, and social changes started redefining family values, and then the church responded by retreating instead of engaging. So post-World War II shift, where fathers were removed from the family home because of the climate, which was war. Then you had the sexual revolution in the 60s and 70s, where moral and sexual boundaries were challenged. Many churches avoided conversations around purity, parenting, identity. The rise of secular education and media, school and entertainment took the role of shaping values, and the church disengaged from these arenas. Fragmentation within the church, many churches began focusing more on programs and attendance rather than strengthening households and marriages as the first ministry. And then the fear of offending culture. So things like marriage, gender, and sexuality became controversial. Churches softened their stance and stayed quiet to remain relevant rather than influencing the mountain. Current giants, government. Like we said last week, there is a removal of parental responsibility and parental things like consent and things like that, censoring parental voices. It's very easy for a child to go and complain about something. And it begins a confusion in the home. So, for example, this thing of gender and whatever, it is seen as abuse. If you then decide to, I don't know, perhaps take your child to like a church to have a conversation, please, a guided conversation, not like, if you know what I mean, because there is abuse within that, but with wisdom. It can just be called conversion therapy, which the UK is actually looking to abolish, but there is a conversation happening right now in government, because the abolishing of conversion therapy also puts at risk certain Christian conversations and values, actually. So actually, there is language happening, and because the church doesn't understand those languages, they don't realize that the church is at risk, basically. Influencers, which is glamorizing and marketing single life and family dismembership. So there are a lot of influencers who will very casually talk about the breakdown of family. They will do aesthetics, especially on TikTok, aesthetic reel, single mum. What people call plantain conversations about single parent households, including fathers, mothers, single fathers have their stance, just things like that. There's just a glamorizing of the breakdown of family. Then neutral and taboo stances from the church on topics concerning family, such as sexual orientation, sexual health, relationship, healthcare, education. So the church has become neutral, and that is actually probably one of the biggest giants that the mountain faces. The church doesn't want to talk about sex with their kid, but you'll go to school and they will tell you, this is how you have sex, but because there's no values being implemented in that, they're just doing the science. Children are curious, and people don't realize that certain things, if I could be open, taboo, there's a danger in that. Children are naturally curious. You teach a 7-year-old and 8-year-old about sexual orientation, about sex, and they will want to explore that if there is no guidance, and that also opens the door for abuse. Also, which is also another taboo topic in households, especially Christian households. So the church has become neutral in a lot of things. What is God's vision for the takeover? Returning to the original Christian plan for families. The church founded many organizations for the well-being of families, such as midwives, family nurses, orphanages, mother and baby units. Specific examples, the Trust in the UK, is a Christian charity that runs the UK's largest network of food banks. CARE, so the word CARE in the UK is Christian Action, Research and Education. which works on social justice and policy issues from a biblical perspective. So the idea or the introduction of health and social care came from the church. London City Mission, which was founded in 1835, founded to bring the gospel to London's poor and working class communities. And then something called the Alpha Course, which was in the 90s, started by the Holy Trinity Brompton Church, is now a global evangelism movement. What are the solutions God wants to provide for this mountain? Active involvement of the church in legislation and policy concerning family spheres, healthcare, social care, education, guides and training materials for these spheres and for actual families created by Christians and the church. So social workers or social care, if the training manuals and the guides are being created by the church and by Christians, naturally the values of a Christian are implemented into these spheres, and the same for healthcare. So discussions around euthanasia, the church doesn't want to be involved in it, for example. You don't want to be involved in it, so then the value of life is being pushed out the door because you don't want to talk about it. And so these things are introduced, and then Christians are basically just standing there. Service centers owned by Christians. Healthcare centers, family centers, daycare centers, residential homes, mother and baby units, children care homes. If the church can create these and own them, then the church is in, not just at the core, but in control of certain spheres as well. That is what the church originally, that is what the ecclesia is concerning the family mountain. That is what the church originally did from the very beginning. They created actual things so that the community would benefit, but they would also be introduced to Christ through those spheres. Yeah, that is what we have. I yapped.
Okay. Very comprehensive. Any questions? Okay. Hands were first.
Training and guidance, as in, so we have a lot of like marriage retreats, a lot of single people conferences and whatever, but there isn't a lot of family discussions happening, actual family discussions. So how do you speak about, and I keep mentioning it because the word has become perverse, and so if the conversations don't start at home, your child's gonna have the conversation whether or not you like it. Like, for example, having a conference, for example, where you are speaking to parents and adults, how do you speak about sex to your child as a Christian parent? How do you have discussions surrounding interactions, I don't know, concerning substances or sexual health or contraceptives? Do you know the science behind contraceptives? To have those conversations, or will you just say, and God said, go and multiply, and when your teenager comes home at 15 pregnant, they've multiplied, but you didn't have the correct conversation. And so I think having actual conversations in the church matters, because I just feel like people just run away from having conversations in general. So if you're asking specifically about the church, actual conversations need to start happening.
How do we have those conversations? What
Events.
avenues? Events.
Things like events, maybe having a parent. So we have like the children's church. Maybe having, like in schools we have PTAs. Having like a parents association for the children that goes to the children's church. What is your child learning? How can you help your child implement these things in their day-to-day? So that the church and the home is connected. Like, how is your child doing at school? How can the church help you? Do you come from a single parent household? Is there any conflict happening in the home? How can the church support you? What advice can we give you? Things like that.
So let's make it practical now in our world today. The average parent comes to church with their kids. If the kid is not a baby and they're of a certain age, then they go to Christian ministry. What is the ecclesia doing to help the parents? For example, are there any structures in place to alert the parents on certain behavioral patterns or anything that's seen, identified as odd or out of the norm? Is there anything there? Because sometimes you have to be practical, right? Yeah, let's be practical. So is there anything now or even in your plan to sort of help parents?
From inside the church, we mean in general.
Even, yeah,
Within the
obviously, you build inside out, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, how do we go take over the world when we've not taken over even our homes?
I mean, for example, something that I'm a parent, my child comes here, he has autism. So, but I have the teachers will come and they will say, this is how Idris was, this is what happened, and things like that. Like, we have conversations, but that is because that is how I operate, even with his normal school. We have that school is tired of me, but we have conversations. I implemented something called a home school book, which is something that most of us growing up had something like that. They no longer have those. And so I will write what my child's weekend was like at home. Like, from Friday, he spent 5 days at school. Is there anything that I saw that was different? And then Monday, the teacher will get that book back and she will go through it. And throughout the week, she will write points down. And I think something like that could...
Average parent doesn't do any of that. So the question, so that is really great. But the question is, okay, great. The children ministry teachers are directly feeding back to you, but are they also feeding back to parents that don't necessarily are not necessarily dealing with a similar situation as yours?
I think that is, if I'm being honest, from the teachers that we have in our children's church, if you was to approach them and ask them how your child's doing in children's church, they will. So I think maybe.
But as a parent, I don't know even.
You don't know.
I don't even. It's not even come to mind to even approach to want to get that feedback.
So then maybe something like not a parents' evening, but like an actual meeting between the parents and the children's church teachers.
Who initiates that?
The children's church. Like maybe create an event and just be like, schools have curriculums and they have it written down. And they can, if you ask the school, what's my child's curriculum, they can print it and give it to you. So things like that. Like literally take an example from the education system we already have now and use it as a blueprint.
So we're going to learn from the world and come and implement in the ecclesia.
I mean, the world learned from the ecclesia and then the ecclesia left. That's what happened.
But they perverted it though. So how we're going to learn the perverted?
No, but I mean things like conversations, like events, like I said, like actual like home, like debate. Yeah, I just feel like things like literally having maybe like a parent association in the church. So then maybe there's a chat.
Yeah.
So then.
That's a great idea, by the way. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So that's great. Any questions from anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I think, again, the family mountain isn't just, like it starts within the home, but it's for any service that provides service and care to families. So that includes healthcare, social care. And so if Christians aren't in the body, obviously like NHS has their legislating body and whatever, and so they provide the policies and the whatever. If there aren't Christians in these and there's no conversations happening, like as in like the ecclesia is not a part of that, then naturally the world rejects Christian values anyway. They don't like it, like pro-choice, pro-whatever. Okay.
So do we just accept that?
No, we don't. But I feel like.
So what's the plan?
I think to begin with, there needs to be Christians in these positions to begin with. There's no point of shouting at someone that's behind the computer and saying, you need to implement this. They're just going to look at you and say, okay, yeah, that's great.
How's the family mountain taking us there?
I have an answer. I promise I do. I just feel like I don't really get the question. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the answer. That's the answer.
Yes.
Yeah. The elder has spoken.
Thank you.
Right. So if you didn't hear what she said, because Mark, did you hear? Okay. So my question was, how is the family mountain taking us to this point where all these policies, like the question she asked, the legislations in place, are not impacting us? And she says, because the family mountain is not a government mountain, and although we are individual mountains, we are still working for one kingdom. So now this is a platform for collaboration between the family and the government mountain, where they come together. You bring your concerns, pain points, touch points. The government mountain then takes that to further a policy or a lobby to essentially facilitate that bit. So yeah, that's a great answer. God bless. Any other questions? Yep.
Okay, so to answer that, I'm going to share it because if anybody wants to invest, I would like to own my own family center. I have the name for it, Lumina, which means light. And it's something I'm working towards actively in my day-to-day. So creating things, books, guides, and things like that. And it is for not just the single mom, because again, it glamorizes single motherhood, actually. And fathers just don't think they feel like they're not needed in the home anymore. But for example, Islington, the council in Islington has something called Caring Fathers, Caring Dads. And so they actually educate young fathers on everything, on how to be a present father, how to help. However, you can only access it after the breakdown of the family. Yeah. And so, for example...
Very helpful.
Right, so once social services has then been involved, then this thing is offered. I would like to own my own center where, yes, there is a mother and baby unit, where mothers can access whatever, but also right from the very beginning, before the baby has even happened, where young people or just people who would like to be parents, there's conversations being had and stuff like that. So training and things like that. So that is something I would like to do because, yeah, fathers have been completely excluded from the picture. And so because the world glamorizes glamorizes the being an independent woman and stuff. And obviously the breakdown again of the original family value, where now women no longer see any value in staying at home and raising children. And because the mother's outside working, there's daycare and things like that. So I personally don't, if I'm being honest, I think that's very, it's a grey area in terms of making it a legislation, because the economy and just things like that, there's a lot of things that it might open up things that weren't there before that could affect the family more. So making it a demand that the mother stays in the home until the child is 13, I think the real thing is creating a system where fathers are in the home, there's stability, and so the mother very willingly can stay at home with her children, rather than being like, you have to stay at home.
Awesome. Any other questions? Any other questions? Family Mountain? Well done. God bless you. Okay. So, How did you find that exercise? Yeah? Which mountain do you think did the best? Arts and entertainment. I say family. Family. I think family did well. Right. So the question still stands. I think this was an initial exercise, but this is something that is going to be progressive as we advance in this Ecclesia series. Now, I've got some homework for you guys. Between all the mountains that we have, right? My question is, how do we effectively collaborate across all mountains to advance the kingdom? Because we could end up being, God forbid, being the Tower of Babel 2.0. Because now the family mountain thinks, okay, this is where we need to go. The business mountain says we need to do this, or we will not invest in this, and all of that. How do we effectively collaborate as an ecclesia? Yes, Elder. Yeah. So each mountain has a police. Okay. So the effective collaboration happens at the police. Okay. So what happens after the police? When we've discussed because now the police is for policy making. So after the discussion, the question is, how do we effectively collaborate? No? So collaboration. Yes. Yeah. So right now we've agreed. Okay, we've agreed. We've agreed that, okay, we're going to work together as an ecclesia. Da, 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 da. We've discussed, okay, the family's going to do this, government's going to do that. But now, how do we interlink to actually bring results? Yeah. Homework, right? Every mountain, my question to you is, what is your most immediate, relevant, and let me phrase it this way, needed mountain? So arts were saying they need business. Almost every mountain could say they need business. But I want you to dig deep and think, which mountain can you effectively collaborate with to advance the kingdom? Make sense? So next week we want to know, when you come, for example, and not minus the business mountain. That's it. Minus the business mountain, because I think the business mountain is everybody says we go here for this, right? So minus the business mountain, which other mountain can you effectively collaborate with to advance the kingdom? Make sense? Yeah? Okay, can you be on your feet? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. No. So those guys, every mountain minus the business mountain will come back to let us know which mountain they can effectively collaborate with. Same for you. Yeah. Bring your answer next week. Right. Okay. Right. You're praying. Let's pray. Family mountain, can you join the other mountains? Right. You're praying, telling God. Bible makes us understand that if God doesn't build, then the laborers that build in vain. So we are praying, telling God that you don't want all these conversations to just become Sunday debates. We come and sit here and then we talk our mind and we discuss, have so many ideas, but it does not eventually yield the results of the ecclesia. You're praying, telling God that, Father, thank you for your wisdom, but now grant us the spirit of tenacity, the spirit of pioneering, to be able to advance my mountain. Open your mouth, begin to pray. Pray and tell God to grant us what it takes to move this from paper, move it from just vision to manifestation. You're also praying, telling God, I want to be an effective mountaineer. That in my mountain, I'll be effective in my mountain. I'll be efficient on my mountain. In the name of Jesus. Father, we thank you for another opportunity to come before this ecclesia and gather as an ecclesia. And we ask that all the ideas that have been discussed, we pray the Lord, you grant us wisdom, grant us the spirit of advancement, that we will advance these ideas, advance these discussion points to be effective in our world today, that we'll be able to manifest your kingdom of heaven on this earth. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, God bless you guys. Thank you for your input. It's been a great conversation, but come back next week with your answers and let's be an ecclesia.